This is Gray's Inn, one of the 4 Inns of Court that trains students to become barristers and then supports them throughout their careers. And this year, Gray's Inn is marking a very special anniversary. It's 400 years since the death of one of its most distinguished members. His name was Francis Bacon, and in the course of an eventful life, he was elected as the Inn's Treasurer, its senior member, before becoming James I's Attorney General and then Lord Chancellor. He also laid out the gardens that have given pleasure to members and visitors for more than 4 centuries.
My name's Katherine Gwyn, and I'm the archivist and records manager at the Honourable Society of Gray's Inn. And taking up my time a lot recently has been gathering materials ahead of the celebration of Francis Bacon's 400th anniversary of his passing.
And here we've got, a display about Francis Bacon?
We have indeed. So Bacon had a lifelong connection to the inn. His father was a member here, and he moved in 1576 when he was just 15. And he lived here on and off throughout his whole life. So I think here at the inn we've got a different perspective on what can sometimes be a complex character. He made so many contributions to very many disparate fields such as philosophy, science, the law and politics. So trying to get an idea of who he was can be quite tricky sometimes. A lot of people will go, Francis Bacon, I know him for this reason. Whereas here at the inn, where we have this long connection with him, perhaps we can see him in a slightly more domestic setting.
And of course what you've got here are archives. And tell me about these archives. Where should we begin?
This is one of the oldest volumes in our collection, and it's a book of admissions. So every member who joined the inn from the 1580s onwards is listed in here, and it predates Bacon and him joining the inn. So he's not listed in here himself, but come the 1590s, he's moved up through the ranks of the inn. He's become a reader and a bencher, and he's taken on the responsibility of taking in the new students' admission fees.
The benchers of the inn are still the senior members of the inn, masters of the bench.
Yeah, and as today, back then, different benchers took on different administrative responsibilities. These days we maybe employ a few more administrative staff to do the legwork, but back in the end of the Tudor period, the start of the Stuart period, that was not so much the case. So the benchers really did muck in and do things such as taking in the money. So we can see in this volume, each one of these paragraphs represents a new member joining the inn, and Francis Bacon, as receiver of their monies, is countersigning the entry, saying, yep, I've had money from them.
And remind me what year this is?
So this would be in the 1590s. Let me see if I can find a specific year. Oh no, this is slightly later. This is 1609.
Right. And it's still here, preserved?
Yes.
Easy to read?
Yes. So we look after this in our archive. We keep it in a climate-controlled environment where it's secure. And it's been fully transcribed and digitised, so we don't often get it out these days.
Well, it's good to see it. And what's this next volume here?
So this next volume is all about money. It's the inn's first ledger. It contains accounts from the treasurers, the deans of chapel, various different areas of activity of the inn. And this is the page we're interested here. So this is the account of Francis Bacon of monies laid out towards the walks.
The walks, of course, are still here in Gray's Inn.
So these are the gardens. So the walks didn't come into being all at once. There were several different campaigns and pushes starting in 1593. And Francis Bacon was involved in all of them. It was a bit of wasteland behind his chambers. We can assume that this bit of sort of semi-agricultural wasteland was probably quite unappealing to the eye. Someone had set up some farmhouses and scruffy gardens. And it took several campaigns from 1593 onwards before Bacon was able to fully enclose it and lay it out. And it's this stage here where we see him spending money on gardeners, fences, and we've got details such as cherry trees and birch trees being purchased. laying out the walks and his vision of almost a grid plan, a wooded garden with paths weaving through, which was to provide a place of reflection for students of the law.
And of course the walks are still here. I don't suppose they look exactly like they did in Bacon's day.
I think much has happened to the walks as to any plot of land here at the inn. Life goes on, nothing can stay the same, but they still maintain the spirit that Bacon set out, as we can see in one of these pictures. This would have been more like the walks from Bacon's period. You see sort of the rows of trees and the paths in between. And Bacon wrote extensively about gardening and the potential of gardens to be not only a place of reflection and for self-improvement, but also a scientific laboratory, somewhere to watch gardens grow, plants grow, and to investigate that. It's very important to him.
You've got some more archives over here, haven't you?
This is a write-up of a masque held at the inn in 1617.
Now, masque spelt with a Q means what?
So a masque would have been something that we can't really imagine today. As a form of entertainment, it's kind of dropped off the scene. It is the telling of a simple allegorical tale, probably taken from classical history, through dance, music, and quite primitive drama. And a masque would have formed part of a wider set of celebrations known as revels, which were at that point key to legal education.
Still are to some extent. I mean, they don't call them revels, but they still have at Christmas time here.
Yes, of course, there's miscellany.
It's called, yes.
Well, this would have been a precedent of miscellany, I'm sure.
So what do we see here in the book?
So this is the basic story, which probably would have been sung, and this tale is about quack doctors trying to lure unwitting patients. And this would have been performed for Francis Bacon in Hall at Candlemas, and it was in honour of him being promoted by James I to Lord Chancellor. And it was a very symbolic moment. He's leaving the inn, going off to live at York House on the Strand, and the inner celebrating his achievements. And at the end, they have commissioned a song to celebrate the man who has, until very recently, led the inn as treasurer. Let's find it here.
That's the senior member, the senior bencher.
Yeah.
Okay, and so this is a song?
And this is the song. And it's sort of patting him on the back, really, and saying, "Go well." And it was probably written by Campion.
Can you read me some of it?
Would we know, great Lord, the way best to welcome you this day? You deserve our best, who thus come and seek to honour us.
Lovely. Splendid. Okay. And over on this side, we've got...
So this brings us up to date. This is the last document that I've got out. And this dates to 1912 and the unveiling of the iconic statue in South Square.
Which is just outside here in the library.
Yes. In 1908, so 4 years before, the benchers of the inn came together to mark the moment when Francis Bacon became treasurer in 1608. And as happens when you get people together around a cause, it was decided to commission a statue by W.F. Pomeroy, who of course had recently sculpted the statues at the Old Bailey. And this is the maquette that the bronze outside is taken from, and that's the sculpture. It took 4 years to complete, and it's been in the square ever since, barring possibly a slight sojourn during World War II.
Right, now here is a picture.
And this is an etching of Bacon. We don't know much about why this is at the inn. Clearly someone's gifted it to us at some point, but it depicts him with his ruff, as he's often shown, which was itself a symbol of nobility, the fact that he was able to keep a nice, clean, starchy white ruff. This was probably taken during his lifetime, but the etching itself will be slightly later.
I'm Sam Hutchinson. I'm the Chief of Staff here at Gray's Inn.
Sam, tell me about what the inn is doing to mark the 400th anniversary of Francis Bacon.
Well, as well as the exhibition that we're having 3 publicly available tours that anybody can book on, not just members of the inn, and that will include a tour of the estate, which will highlight areas such as the premises where Bacon lived, no longer extant unfortunately, and also the general history of the inn. So they're not exhaustive and just focused on Francis Bacon, but they help explain the inn, his times, what the inn is today, and that will also feature the ability to view some of the archived documents, as well as the opportunity to buy lunch in hall. We're also having a sung Eucharist for Francis Bacon, and in May we are having a house dinner. So that is a dinner just for members, and the invited members invited by the treasurer of the inn, who is a position that Sir Francis Bacon himself occupied 400 and something years ago. And that will be a very special night. We're going to start in the walks, our gardens, and there will be a tour of the walks, where the summer house was, which he dedicated to a friend. There were 2 obelisks which have disappeared, which potentially contained all kinds of symbols as he looked into science and alchemy. So they'll tour the walks, very much the jewel in the crown of Gray's Inn, our gardens, and then go through into Hall. Now Hall itself was reconstructed after the war, as it was gutted by an incendiary attack in 1941. However, it was built exactly the same. So with the hammer beam roof, the Tudor hammer beam roof that he would have been familiar with, and with that night we have Professor Alan Stewart, who will be giving a speech about Bacon. We might also have some actors or costumed interpreters, some music from the period, a semi-themed menu, so it's going to be a really good celebration. And then throughout chapel over the year as well, we'll have a series of summer concerts featuring music from the period. Obviously madrigals were very popular, and also pictures, words and music, which is again in our chapel, will also feature elements from his time as well.